Buff Nation.
Squad.
Yes, sir. Coming to you live from the virtual studio on a kind of gloomy Monday out here in Denver, Colorado. We come back and the
True.
weather just takes a dip.
Yeah, it was raining like all day yesterday. It was one of those days. It was kind of odd, but it felt, if it's going to rain any day throughout the week, I prefer, a rainy Sunday, because I'm in the bed chilling anyway most of the day, just watching ball. So if it's going to rain any day, I'll take a Sunday.
Facts. What's up, brother?
Cool in the big dog. It's Monday. It's another week. Start of a new week. Start of new blessings. We get to turn the page, you know what I'm saying? Back at the curb of Folsom Field this weekend for a non late night game, right? We get to actually play and watch a game
1:30
in the midst of the day. 1:30 kickoff local time. I love to see that. So, kind of a long weekend. We were just talking a little before the show. A little tired, you know what I'm saying, this Monday morning, but hey, we're here and we can't complain. God is good all the time. How you feeling though?
I'm feeling good. I'd just like to pray to the travel gods and ask for some mercy. We've been battle tested and we've responded time and time again. How many more tests do we need to be put through before we can just have a normal travel day? It's crazy. All right.
For real.
We'll talk standouts from the TCU game, quick Big 12 Week 6 recap and all that. Before we get to the pauses, anything else you want to get off your chest, though, after the game?
You're making me go there, aren't you, Jake?
I'm not making you go there because I'm not going to.
I was just taking a look through the Big 12 stats so far this season this morning, and six games in the book. You only get 12 regular season, right? I kind of mentioned after the show instead of that. That's half of your guaranteed games for this season. So there are no longer any small sample sizes or anything like that. And like I said, some of the numbers as it relates to the rest of the Big 12 as a team are pretty concerning. In terms of scoring, Colorado has the third worst scoring offense in the Big 12, 25 points a game. Only West Virginia and Oklahoma State have scoring less points per game than Colorado so far this year. That obviously goes hand in hand with the total yardage. Second lowest total yards per game offense in the Big 12 so far this season. Only Oklahoma State is worse. Defense isn't that much better. Third worst in terms of total yards given up. It's tough. It's tough to look at those type of numbers. You know what I'm saying? Because especially when you have
the conference too.
You say it again.
You're giving up the most rushing yards in the conference too.
You're giving up the most rushing yards in the conference. Those type of things are the basics of football, right? Stopping the run, putting points on the board. Those are kind of the basics of football. And, when your numbers are that low through, again, half of your guaranteed games, you're almost lucky to be even 2-4. A lot of the teams who have numbers like that are 1-5, looking for their first win. So it's obviously disappointing, especially when you consider all the talent on this team from a player perspective, all the experience, the NFL experience, and the coaching staff. But like I said at the top, you can only talk so much about the past. You got to turn the page eventually, and you got another opportunity this weekend against a team that was just ranked in the top 25. Are they still ranked? Yeah, they still in the top 25, I believe. So you got another opportunity this week to pull off an upset against a top 25 team at home in front of your home crowd and get back on track. Get your first Power 4 win of the season. Get your first Big 12 win of the season. There's still a good amount to play for, and we'll talk about some guys who maybe haven't gotten a lot of opportunities up to this point, but should maybe be getting more opportunities as we head down the stretch of this season.
Yeah, just real quick, talking about the yards per game and stats. I mean, coming into the season, we talked a lot about this running game and how 150 yards per game would do a lot for you. And you're right around 143. Obviously, it could be a little bit better, but But again, 150 last year was like dead set middle of national average per game in FBS.
Yeah.
Moving around there. I don't have the national numbers right now. But you need more output for the passing game. We obviously didn't really account for that when we talked about, how much better they need to run the ball. If I think obviously, clearly, if we knew the passing game was going to struggle this much, I would have said running game's going to have to do more. But that's just where you're at right now. I mean, this team is now fully like a run first team, no matter what's going on at quarterback. So that's another thing I don't think we talk about, especially in the context of the season, in terms of, differences from last year and this year and what needs to look better and what they have to do. It's a pure like philosophical shift, and those things to do in one off season, to do in October 6th, to do in basically over 10 months. That's a tough thing to do. So not giving them a pass clearly, but there's just a lot of things about this team that we just don't really talk about as much. Caden Salter's transition from Liberty to Colorado, Coach Prime's health, which is clearly coming up again. It's an issue. And then a complete philosophical shift on offense. Like there's a lot of moving parts on this team, on this offense this year that were night and day from last year. And it's just because it's college football and the players move on, right? It's just what it is. You got to adapt. Everyone has to do it. I'm not trying to give it a pass or anything, but there's a lot going on right now.
No doubt. Elbert Hardeman in the chat asked, what's going on with the secondary? They look bad on TV. Any stats to share, Scotty? DJ McKinney was somebody I just wrote about today, is somebody who I thought played well this past weekend against TCU. Honestly, he's played well the last 2 weeks. Over the last 2 weeks, well, actually just on Saturday against TCU, DJ had a game-high 7 solo tackles. He gave up just 2 catches for 23 yards. The week before against BYU, was targeted 3 times, only gave up 1 catch for 8 yards. DJ has been solid the last couple of weeks. Obviously, he struggled a little bit earlier in the season with some penalties and stuff. But the larger issue is this secondary as a whole, specifically at the cornerback spot, right? Like I said, DJ, I think, has been fine the last 2 weeks. Preston, I thought, played better on Saturday against TCU, but he has had a rough year as well, particularly with penalties. And penalties is what's really killed this secondary. Obviously, trying to defend the pass downfield. A lot of the times they've been in the right spot, but they just panicked when the ball is in the air or when the ball gets targeted at them and they get handsy. And the biggest issue, though, even behind DJ and Preston, is that whoever the third cornerback is just hasn't been up to the task. And the injury to RJ Johnson, who has missed the last at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks now at this point, has really, really hurt this secondary. And it seems as though the last 2 weeks in particular, especially on Saturday against TCU, Josh Hoover, whoever the quarterback, whoever the opponent offensive coordinator is like, who's the third cornerback out there for Colorado? Whether it's Makari Vickers, whether it's Tian Parks, we are going to target them. And that's really what TCU did on Saturday. That's where at least 2 of their big touchdowns came from, was using that kind of method. So Larry's saying it right now. Yeah, the RJ Johnson injury showed up big time. It has been. And I don't expect to see RJ this week. I think the next time we'll see him is after the bye next week, hopefully. But last year, obviously, sure, you had Travis, obviously, but you also had DJ and Preston and a really good Colton Hood, who was more than capable of stepping in whatever role you needed him to play. That depth just isn't there. That talent just isn't there in that cornerback room this year. And again, the more games you play, the more tape is out there on how teams can exploit you defensively. That's what they're going to do. So until a third cornerback kind of steps up, until RJ Johnson returns from injury, I guarantee Rocco Becht and them that's going to be a game plan for them this weekend on Saturday, to see how they can get Makari Vickers or Tian Parks into one-on-one situations and try to exploit them. So that's a big reason why this defense, this secondary, just hasn't looked how it should, or at least how it did last year at a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Preston played really well up until around halftime. He had a ticky-tack called on him on a big spot on a 3rd down, I think it was 3rd and 7. That gave him a 1st down. They ended up scoring on that drive. That was a back-breaking penalty.
Yeah, it was.
And I'll defend Preston. It was ticky-tacky at best. Like,
it was.
He made a play for the football. And this secondary just doesn't have the benefit of the doubt right now.
Right.
You know, you've kind of got it known going into games that you're going to be grabby. You might panic when the ball's thrown your way, and you're just going to let up yards. I mean, Iowa State, we'll get to this game here a bit later, but Rocco Beck last weekend against Cincinnati threw the ball 48 times, had 314 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know, they had Eskildson. Isn't that the guy who was averaging up there with Sincere Brown in terms of yards per catch? He went over
really
100. Chase Sewell, former Buff, he had a touchdown. He's been doing some things as well. So it doesn't get any easier. You need RJ back as soon as possible, for sure. It doesn't help that even your break in case of emergency options are out. I mean, Isaiah Harge he was out last week. You couldn't even go to him in a pinch.
Yeah.
So the depth it's hurt. It's not great right now. You know, Makari's got this shoulder thing. I don't know if you guys noticed on that one-handed touchdown catch to Eric McAllister. I believe that was in the second quarter. It was in the first half, I think, right?
I think so, yeah.
Makari can't get his left arm up. He's got a shoulder brace on. Like he's limited in terms of.
He's been banged up. He was doubtful for the BYU game and ended up suiting up. He was questionable. He was on the injury report all week. He was questionable going into the TCU game. So he is clearly not 100%. But you're counting on him because RJ's out. A couple guys in the chat mentioned Noah King. Noah King has been out the last few weeks as well. We're not sure what he's dealing with, but you're thin. And when you're thin at cornerback, in addition to defensive line, like Colorado was on Saturday as well, it's going to be tough sledding.
It is. All right, standouts. Go first, brother.
Standouts. I'll leave the big offensive standout to you. I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. London Merritt, man. I tried to tell folks all offseason that this dude was going to be an instant impact as a true freshman. Obviously, decommitted from Ohio State to come play for the Colorado Buffaloes. And this is a future NFL player. And the more he gets opportunities, the sooner the better. Because whenever he does get opportunities, he makes the most of them. London played a season-high 22 snaps on Saturday. Still only 22 snaps, even with some of the injuries up front for Colorado defensively. Not just first career sack. He had one last week against BYU, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't credited to him. But this week, officially, against TCU, he got his first career sack. Kind of came in an important, pivotal moment of the game, too. 3 tackles, 2 of them solo, had an additional quarterback hit in addition to the sack that he got, 4 total pressures on the game. This is somebody who, in my opinion, is inching closer and closer to being an every down player because he can play the run. He's obviously a gifted pass rusher as well. This is somebody who I'd put right there in the Juju Lewis conversation. Like, the sooner you can get him opportunities and get him starts and get him live reps under his belt, you got to do it because this is one of the best young players on this roster. And I love to see it. London Merritt, whenever you see him on the field, he flashes, man. So he was a big standout. And this has kind of been stacking for him. There's a couple of times we mentioned him after games, again, with just limited reps, making the most of them. So as soon as he, kind of clips his 40 snaps in a game, I think that's when you're going to finally see that breakout performance.
Yeah, he grades out, according to PFF, the 3rd best defensive player, 3rd best in run defense. Yeah, man, it's clear that he's got the talent. And we talked about it in the offseason. I mean, there's a youth movement on this team. The sooner you get these guys on the field, get them experience, get them acclimated to the college game, the better for now and the future of the program. So he's definitely high up on the list. Shout out to Dallan Hayden. Man, I mean, it's by far the best I've seen him run. Clearly the injury last year, we talked about it and mentioned it. That really did affect him because he looked like a different player on Saturday. Someone mentioned when we were talking about it during the game on Saturday, like he looks bigger. I kind of agree. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He's got some speed. He was their best rusher on Saturday, and now he's kind of made it even more difficult for Marshall Faulk and Pat Shurmur in the offense in terms of the running back rotation. But it's also you kind of needed this. I mean, you had 2 backs. We don't know when DeKalen Taylor and Simeon Price are going to come back or if they're going to come back. And you're going to need another back at some point. Obviously, they moved Draylon over. He didn't have his best game on Saturday. The Wildcat just wasn't really working that much. They did try to just, purely hand him off the ball a few times. But I don't know if he's really got that, the full playbook to his disposal at this point in time. Whereas Dallan Hayden is someone who I think probably does have a little bit more of a share in terms of just that department. So shout out to Dallan Hayden. Tip of the cap to him, man. Hope he keeps it up.
You see that comment on the screen from Elbert, Jake?
Joseph?
I like that comment. But I agree with you on Dallan, dude. That was his best game as a Buff, as the Colorado football player right there. He also played a season high in snaps. Dallan did on Saturday night. 35 snaps was a season high. He had played 14 total snaps the previous 3 weeks combined. So obviously when they needed him, obviously down Simeon again, down DeKalen again. And with, like you mentioned, with Draylen struggling a little bit, they kind of leaned on Dallan, and he made the most of them. 6.8 yards per carry. He looked explosive. He looked fresh. He looked like the guy that Colorado got in the transfer portal a couple off seasons ago from Ohio State. So you said it with this passing game really struggling right now. The more bodies you can get, the more able bodies you can get who can pick up 4 or 5 yards of pop or maybe even bust one for even longer, the better. Because at this point of the year, this just has to completely be a run first, run heavy offense, and everything else comes off of that. So Micah, I thought still ran well. Certainly Dallan did. We'll see when Simeon or Trackall come back, but those guys have to be the focal point of this offense.
Yeah, and when it comes to Micah, I think it was purely a hot hand approach. He came out of the gate really well, had that 15-yard run. That really kind of carried his stat line for the game, though. I mean, a lot of 2-yard runs, a lot of 1-yard runs. He just wasn't getting it done, as the game kind of went on. Obviously, they go to Dallan. Draylen wasn't really getting it done either. I think TCU kind of played you pretty well in the run game overall. Takes me to my next standout. I got to shout out this shorthanded defensive line. You held this team to under 100 yards rushing on 35 carries. Kavorian Barnes came back. He looked pretty good as their starting running back. He wasn't – I wouldn't say he's 100%, but,
right.
They were able to do what they had to do. Clearly, TCU is not the best team in the conference when it comes to running the football. But you needed a performance like this to just kind of get back on the right tracks. Again, Iowa State, they threw the ball quite a bit last week. They did rush for over 151 yards for 4 yards to carry. So they're very well balanced. You're going to get both of it. You're going to get tested, in the front seven. You're going to get tested in the secondary on Saturday. And so a performance like that to go into this game, hopefully you're able to carry some momentum and make things difficult for Iowa State. Because, again, these guys have the talent up front. Keaton Wade played really well. London, as we talked about, played really well. Your corners actually graded out really well in run defense. And the linebackers, JB was your highest graded run defender. So you're starting to find some momentum just in terms of that department. It's just got to keep going.
Iowa State got 2 really good running backs.
Yeah.
Carson Hansen and Abu Sama are both headaches to tackle. So that is what I expect Iowa State to lean on this weekend. You mentioned it. Rocco threw it, he said 48 times.
48 times for 314 yards.
And yeah, the majority of that is because, Cincinnati just jumped all over him out the gate, and Iowa State was trailing big for the majority of that game. So I expect a heavy dosage of Carson Hansen and Abu Sama in the run game for Iowa State this weekend, which puts a big onus on Colorado's front seven, right? And you mentioned JB there. Shout out to him. He got the start on Saturday against TCU, played most of that game. Martavius French took a step back in terms of reps and rotation. I think he only played like 1 snap.
Yeah.
On Saturday, obviously after, starting the year as the starter at linebacker. So it was mostly Reggie and JB in there, Sean Myers a little bit. But they're going to have to bring it again this weekend, and even more so to stop Iowa State's rushing attack. Keaton Wade, you mentioned him briefly. He's another standout for me. I think that might have been his breakout game kind of as a Buff. 7 total tackles, which is tied for the game high. 4 of them solo, had the sack. 2 tackles for loss, had a forced fumble, kind of a strip sack on Josh Hoover that they ended up recovering. But he now leads this team in sacks this season. He's got 2.5. Keaton has kind of turned into what Robert Livingston talked about this offseason he wanted him to be, right? When he was asked about Keaton's development, the next step of it, it was being an every down player. And Keaton has kind of shown that he's up there in terms of snaps played from a defensive standpoint for Colorado this year as well. I think he's seventh most defensive snaps played for the Buffs here this season. So him and Arden and London and Alex, those 4 guys on your edge have honestly been really good this season. You can't really say much about the edge defensive spot for Colorado this year because those 4 guys have been holding it down.
One last shout out for me, though. Just shout out this offensive line, and in particular, Jordan Seaton comes away with an elite pass blocking grade again. Just watch him. I understand it's hard, when the game is actually going and the ball's in play and all that. Just go back and watch some of the highlights or whatever, and watch Jordan Seaton for like just 5 plays at a time. That's what they look like, man. That's exactly what they look like.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
No doubt about it.
Let's kind of recap the Big 12 real quick. Friday night, BYU took it to West Virginia. West Virginia does end up covering. Bear Bachmeier, though, another solid performance, over 350 passing yards, had a touchdown. This kid's he's a good quarterback, man. He also ran for 43 yards and a touchdown. He's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
So watch out for that as BYU moves on.
They may as well name the Big 12 Freshman of the Week award after Bear Bachmeier because he just winning it every week.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, I might add.
For sure. Let's go to one of the games of the weekend, Cincinnati, Iowa State. What'd you learn from that game?
I learned not to take the cheese, brother. I learned not to take the cheese. That was an ass whooping that Cincinnati put on them. And don't just look at the final score because I think it ended up being 38-30 Cincinnati's way. But that's how you smack a team in the mouth at home. And a ranked team. That's how you do it. And shout out to Scott Satterfield. That was his signature win since taking over that program. And they deserved it because, again, from the opening snap, they were physical. They were the more physical team. They were the more locked-in team. They were the better coach team on that day. So shout out to Cincinnati, man. Again, I said it last week or the week before that they had been playing good football. Obviously didn't pick them to win or cover on Saturday, though, against Iowa State. But shows you in this conference, man, any given Saturday, dude, anything can happen.
They ran for 264 yards on them and 3 touchdowns. Ooh-wee. Running back Evan Pryor averaged 11.1 yards per carry.
And the other kid, Tawee Walker, might have been even better just from the eye test.
Yeah. Again, there's the recipe. It's right out in front of you, and it's what you do best. Run the football on this team, keep that offense off the field, and you'll have a chance.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a turnover.
Iowa State.
Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati actually lost the turnover battle. They did, and they still won that game because, like you said, they came out, punched them in the mouth. They were very physical. They got some key stops. Sorry, just pulling up the stats again. Iowa State was 4 for 17 on third down. I mean,
that's how you lose a game right there.
That's exactly it. Again, like you said, the score looks way prettier than it was. Cincinnati was up 17-0 in the first quarter. Before this last second touchdown, the score was 38-22. Iowa State got a 2-point conversion on that last touchdown. So,
and Sorsby missed like at least 2 big opportunities for big games that would have truly made that game a blowout in the second and third quarter. So, you're watching that tape. If you're Pat Shurmur, if you're this Colorado offensive coaching staff, you're watching that tape from last week, and you got to be licking your chops because there are a lot of opportunities to exploit Iowa State's secondary. What's that 3-3-5 that they run? Yeah. Where they're holes. If you can just get it blocked up at the first level, like there could be some real lanes and opportunities for big gains in the running game.
No doubt. Let's go to Baylor. K-State Baylor.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah, K-State ends up covering. What happened? Can you break down what happened at the end of the game again?
Pretty much, yeah. So pretty much what happened was Kansas State was pretty much dominating this game. They were in complete control.
It was 31-17 at one point.
Exactly right. It was 31-17. Then Avery Johnson just throws a ridiculous interception off his back foot. Again, the game is in control. I think there's still like 4 minutes left in this game. BYU takes it back. They score. They go up ahead 32-31. Yeah, it was a 66-yard pick six when K-State was up by at least a touchdown. But K-State drives down. It was a crazy play. So K-State Jace Brown has a touchdown, and his helmet pretty much gets ripped off. And so because that happened, that prevents him from running in for a touchdown. So K-State has to settle for a field goal. They go up 34-32 with about less than 2 minutes left. And then, of course, Sawyer Robinson drives them down the field, gets them in position for a game-winning field goal. They hit it. Kansas State still has an opportunity with about 30 seconds left to go down and match their game-winning field goal with one of their own. But their kick, just as time expires, gets blocked. So Baylor ends up winning a roller coaster of a game by 1 point at home. That was a wild game. But Avery Johnson, man, just can't get out of his own way. Again, you look at the box score, he absolutely dominated that game. Over 420 yards of offense, 3 total touchdowns. But the one pick six is honestly the reason they lost that game. But Baylor just don't quit, dude. Whether it was that SMU game earlier in the year, whether it was this game, they just don't quit. And Sawyer Robertson has been as advertised this season as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pick six obviously aided but 18 fourth quarter points from Baylor. Sawyer's a dog, bro. He is. He just keeps, slinging. He doesn't care what the score is, what's going on in relation to the defense. He's just going to keep turning it loose. Michael Trigg, this guy is unreal.
That catch was disgusting.
They had a drive, bro, in this game. It was back-to-back catches from Trigg. Let me see if I can find this. So right before the pick six, Baylor goes on a touchdown drive. 3 plays, 82 yards. A 42-yard pass to Trigg, a 29-yard pass to Trigg, then Bryson Washington for 11 yards for the touchdown.
Wow.
Baylor's good. It's just they've had some close calls. They won this one, so they're still in the hunt, but it's been close for them. Texas Tech, Houston. This game wasn't really close. It was on.
What did you learn in that one?
What I learned in that one is apparently Connor Wigman does not have it at all. They go back to Zayon Chris in that.
Did they?
That's who that was, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
He didn't do much better, but Wegman was 5 for 12, 71 yards and a pick. Then they ended up putting Zayon Chris in. He, leads that. They had a long touchdown to Amari Thomas, but what I learned, I didn't really learn much because I said it a couple of weeks ago. Texas Tech is one of the best teams in the country. I thought Houston could sit in there and fight. They turned up the stadium for it, but Texas Tech is just that good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they look like a top 10 team in the country. Certainly the best team in the Big 12 up to this point. And, I think Unc said it a few times, man. If they do what they look like they about to do with all the money they poured into that football program this offseason, that's going to become the blueprint.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Arizona put it on Oklahoma State. Fafita threw 5 touchdowns. He's balling again.
He is, dude. He's back. I love to see it, honestly.
Although Oklahoma State is nothing to – that team has given up completely. I mean, they did it last year against Colorado, last game of the season. It's October, and they're donezo. Players opting out, all this stuff going on. They're in a very rough spot.
Could always be worse.
True. Do you have any I didn't see anything from this game. I know you were following, though. Anything on Kansas UCF at all?
I mean, honestly, UCF is just they're a lot better than us, certainly on this show thought, and a lot of people thought. Like they're a decent college football team, which is again more than a lot of people thought. Kansas is kind of who I thought they were. They're just mid. They're cool. It depends on what you get from Jalen Daniels on any given Saturday because he is still showing flashes of the Jalen Daniels that just can't be trusted. But every now and then he shows the flashes of the Jalen Daniels that makes people fall in love with him. So that was just a typical middling Big 12 game that Kansas ended up coming out on top of. I think there was a goal line stand there at the end because I think the final was 27-20, correct?
Yeah.
I think UCF or Kansas had a goal line stop there at the end that UCF could have scored on to either tie the game late or go ahead with a 2-point conversion, but Kansas stuffed them. So,
yep, UCF drove all the way down to the Kansas 22, 4 straight plays, incompletion.
Brutal.
End of game.
Brutal.
Anything else?
No, what you think about the NFL slate this week? Shout out to that boy Jimmy Horn Jr., dog.
Big play.
Made his NFL debut on Sunday for the Carolina Panthers. You just mentioned it, man. Had a big play. The Panthers were down bad in that game early. The Miami Dolphins stormed back a late 4th and 5 late in the game, trailing. Jimmy one-on-one beats a veteran corner, makes a beautiful kind of leaping grab for a massive first down. Carolina goes and scores the go-ahead game-winning touchdown a couple of plays later. That is how you earn your spot on a team for the rest of the season, and how you you wake people up about, the kind of player you are, because that is a high leverage situation. And shout out to Bryce Young for trusting the rookie in that big of a spot as well. So I just love seeing that, man. And Jimmy's demeanor too afterwards, just like, well, I've been doing this. What? That's what I do. Like, come on now. So shout out to Jimmy, man. That was awesome to see. And this is just the beginning, because once you gain trust like that from the quarterback in that type of situation, it's only going to go up from here.
100%. I love him getting up, talking his mess, man. I mean, that's just who Jimmy is. Fired me up. And as you said, that's big for just the trust from Bryce, from the entire football team. He's going to make an impact. It's going to be sooner rather than later. Did LaJohntay, the Ravens got destroyed. Did LaJohntay do anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Zay didn't do anything against the Cardinals, really, and Dylan Gabriel started for the Browns. Obviously didn't watch that game. We're flying back when that game's going on, but just kind of looking at everything. I mean, in stats at least, played well.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of it on the plane. He played all right. He just wasn't trying to make any mistakes, clearly. Certainly was playing within the offense, playing very, 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 very safe. So, that worked out for him. Again, you look at the stats, he looked all right. I think his completion percentage wasn't great. I think he finished like 17-30, which is like right around like 55% or something like that. But he did throw the 2 touchdowns to the 2 tight ends. No turnovers, which is the biggest thing. In a tough environment, going to play in London for your first start against the Brian Flores defense certainly isn't an ideal circumstances to make your first career start, but he played fine. So good for him.
And then Travis Hunter plays tonight. We'll see where exactly the Jags use him. Obviously, they're playing the Chiefs,
Should be an offense night for him. Should be a big offense night.
We'll see. I was going to say, I think it should be a big defense night. I mean, you're playing Patrick Mahomes.
The reason I said more offense, because I don't know if they have the receivers, they're like, Worthy's questionable. Obviously, Hollywood is there. It's just like, I don't know.
That's true. But I know Jacksonville definitely doesn't have the receivers, and they're still not giving Travis looks either. So
that's what I'm saying. I hope it's an offense night. I think it's going to be an offense night for
it.
Travis.
Feels like it's only a matter of time before he has like 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, like just a massive game, like a vintage Travis game. But we'll see.
I'm just going to say this just by the chance that I can clip it later tonight. Travis Hunter is going to score his first career NFL touchdown tonight against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. All righty, bro. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll hear from Coach Prime tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, we're doing it all over again. Another big game this weekend. I mean,
for real, top 25 opponent coming to town.
So we'll talk about it. We'll get RK back tomorrow. He's going to be taking off to London with the Broncos crew, so you're going to get a lot of the 2-man game here going forward, but we got you covered. All right, brother. We'll see you soon. Let's go Buffs.
Squad.
We all silly like the mayor.